Okay, I'm gonna let
Let's
the video
begin, let's
play for a
begin.
little. What is the difference between these two players' aim? Even though the one on the left is snappy and pretty flashy. How's the volume before I keep going? Are we good? Can you even hear it actually? Probably not. Okay, so just to double check, because I don't know how you all are hearing the video. You all can hear the video, right? Like it's audible right now? It's not hard to see their weaknesses. They're shaky. I don't know how. I don't know how. Okay.
All right.
I'm just sure. What is the difference between these two players' aim? Even though the one on the left is snappy and pretty flashy, Thank you for the prime it's not signal. hard to see their weaknesses. They're shaky on their micro corrections and lack smoothness. Their motions are very jagged. On the other hand, the one on the right is much calmer. They look in control of their crosshair and their motions much more seamless. The thing is, both these players are me. The left is from 3 years ago, the that's right really today, obvious and now, actually. I'm a much better...
What?
That is like a take from 5 Days Apart, and it sounds very obvious to me.
How many comments did you get about it?
0.
Yeah.
Both these players are me. The left is from 3 years ago, the right today, and I'm a much better player for this change. But how did I go from a snappy style to a smooth one, and how did I do it without losing my flicking speed? I think the intro is okay. I don't think it's that strong.
I think it's pretty good.
But I don't know what else I could have really done. I can't think of anything better.
I think it sets up the effects of tension very well. I guess the only other way you could have gone about it is the fact that tension has that kind of reputation.
Yeah, but I kind of do that after. And I also didn't want to copy Struth because I wrote this little segment in the video about like, you know, if you look up tension online, you scroll through Reddit.
Yeah,
And then I watched Struth's video and he did the exact same thing. And I'm like, fuck, okay, I need to think of something else.
Hi, B.
You guys won't believe what happened next. I think it's okay.
I think it's pretty good.
I think it is well edited though.
I think so too.
Very smooth.
I think the side-by-sides are always very compelling.
Thank
That's
you.
one of my favorite ways to do it as well.
I like how I put the little white bar in the middle. I don't know why, it adds a lot.
Mm.
Also, I use Premiere for anyone who asked. I saw a question earlier. Okay, I'm going to play the video again. If you looked up how to improve your smoothness online, you'd probably find something... So this was the original intro, by the way. This was going to be the start of the video, but I realized, like, yeah, this is copying Struth, so I couldn't do it. If you looked up how to improve your smoothness online, you'd probably find something about staying calm and keeping your muscles perfectly relaxed. This is how most people go about getting smooth aim, and it can work for some situations. However, this method of aiming smoothly has one massive... Fun fact for all of this footage. I fucking suck at like centering, thin gauntlet. I can play it, I get decent scores, but I look fucking so shaky and I don't know why. I get all of this footage of like smoothness stuff in my videos at like 100 cm. And I just
Well, so does everyone else.
Fun.
So does everyone else.
I guess so. It's like normal sense. And when I need footage of like bad tension management, I'll just play on like 5 centimeters or something. Weakness. Your muscles are the things that make your aim fast. Relying on keeping them relaxed at all times for smoothness will massively limit your speed or your smoothness at higher speeds. I know this because I tried it. When I decided I wanted to make my aim smoother, I took this approach, but never got better at situations where I had to move quickly. The shakiness would come. These clips are real though. This is actually my old gameplay.
Yeah, for the first like 3 days of this project, it was just you going through
Oh my
four-year-old
god,
footage.
it took so long because I wanted to find like really obvious whiffs, and I don't like. I definitely have them, but I don't save them, and my new ones probably aren't good enough for a broader YouTube audience to go like, yeah, that's a whiff. But my old ones, like obviously I'm not gonna clip like me whipping a full mag, so yeah. I'm right back. So how can tension both be bad for smoothness and yet necessary for good aim? Firstly though, let's have a look at why people think you should keep your aim relaxed to begin with. Try placing your hand gently on the mouse and moving it side to side. And now try again while pressing down firmly on all of the buttons. Doing this requires increasing the tension in our fingertips, and it's pretty clear that movements are a bit more stepped when applying that downwards force. Firstly, if anyone's watched the video independently, did you actually do it when you were watching the video? And can you like see the difference or feel the difference in movement?
I like that. Let's go. That's big.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I have a sinister alternate motive with this stream. I've gotten a lot more comments than usual saying they didn't get it, that they just didn't understand the concepts. And I want to know if there's anything I could have done differently.
I've been saying that, like,
because I don't. I think it's fine.
I think it's good. I think that whenever you have anything that teaches anything and have it be relatively in depth, you're gonna get people who don't get it.
The concepts, Raven, like overall. With graphs? I introduced the tension graph pretty like later though. Thank you, Blue Jay. That's kind of where I am as well. I guess trying to use some analogy. I do though. It's the running example.
Yeah.
Cartoon said maybe just like more analogies, just like stack them over and over. But I feel like at some point you got to think about like video pacing.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what the video actually is, Granger. I think it's just really hard to make the subject clear because of how subjective tension is. I agree, and I've had a lot of people kind of asking, like, do you feel it physically? Do you analyze your aim and see, like, oh, I'm too shaky, I must be too tense? And the problem is it's like, the answer is yes, you do all of these things. And I think people who try to take a very hardline look at the topic will be left confused if they're looking for objective answers about what to do. How much tension should I feel in my, like, wrist and upper forearm? I don't know. It is really personal and depending on what you're doing and dynamic. And I think that is a bit of a problem. For videos like mine anyway. But I'm trying to explain it. Thank you, Raven. I'm kind of in the same boat. I think I don't know. At first I was very unhappy with myself. I'm like, oh, I should have formatted it differently. But, you know. Hover my mouse just above the mouse pad. I discovered that I do that sometimes and I didn't know. Specifically the back of the mouse, it like creeps up into my palm when I try to adjust downwards.
That's cool.
And it's actually hovering at the back. Comfort and form, honestly, because it's so personal. It's why I haven't talked about like posture, yeah, because it's there's so much, and like I could never make a video saying like, yeah, my posture is the best, copy me, because like one, I don't have a fucking degree in it or anything. Two, like I obviously do abnormal things with my posture. You know, I use an armrest as support. Most people don't. And then there are other people like Twists, you know, who plays with a fucking head crab grip and it works. So I really don't know how to approach the topic of like ergonomics and posture and even mouse grip in like a... People, no, it's very weird. Everyone who has seen me play IRL has said like, wow, you're weird. So
it's why older videos about posture are really frustrating to watch now, because they just say like, do this is what pros do this, try the dinosaur arm method. And like they don't ever substantiate their points at all. There was a TikTok, not a TikTok, it was a YouTube short I saw from a Valorant coach as well, who was just like, I fixed her aim in 20 minutes. And it was just saying like, grip this exactly how I grip it, you'll notice that it's better. And then he just does that 3 times and the video ends.
Oh my god.
I hate that kind of coaching so much.
Because I feel like, especially with coaching, it is important to give like, I want them to come away not only knowing what I think is the best way for them to improve, but also why, right? What is my reasoning behind the advice I give? I think that's really important.
I agree. And that video had like 3 million views. Everyone was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Maybe it works. Maybe I'm sleeping on his exact grip method.
Oh yeah, I think the like fundamental like desk height stuff with like don't have your chair so low that your arm is like hanging below the table, don't have your elbow so high that you're like bending it outwards. I think that is pretty objective.
Right.
But there's definitely a range of like what 20 centimeters maybe that is doable, and you know, ideal. What's my desk is like slightly above belly button level. But, you know, different people, different heights, that will vary. I can't just say, have your desk slightly above your belly button, because that would be the YouTube short approach.
Yeah. I think
and it'll be wrong.
Most people can evaluate if an element of their posture is affecting.
I agree. I think it's the easiest, like, aim diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's what I got figured out first before, like, aim training. I had figured out the, you know, armrest method. Oh, my desk is like 3 inches below my belly button. So is your setup wrong or is my setup wrong according to the YouTube short logic?
Dun, dun, dun.
Gonna play the video?
Yeah.
Which, when done in excess, can absolutely contribute to a lack of smoothness and lead to massive disconnects. Fun fact about that last clip, I was playing with Leica.
Who?
Do you know Leica?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I do.
We played a couple
I do know
games between motions. So why don't we just not tense our hands when aiming? I think that comes down to the reason people start in the first place. It creates this feeling of control. When aiming at smaller targets or in high stress situations, it's natural to apply more pressure, and from there it's an easy habit to get into. That feeling of control is fake though. Increasing tension in those situations makes it harder to make any movement, intentional or unintentional. So while you might become a bit more stable, it will make adjusting to movements next to impossible. Between the mechanical issues it causes and the risk to your hand's health it presents, excessive fingertip tension is absolutely a habit you should try to break. Oh, this was another like headache with creating this video. I could not define wrist fingertip arm tension until I had defined wrist fingertip arm aim. So I had to kind of present this false image of like tension discussions as being only grip tension, and it made writing this bit especially really hard. And I think it's kind of weak because of that. I think
Interesting.
It kind of drags because of all the clarification. I don't know.
I feel like withholding some of the information made for an interesting reveal, though.
It did, but it made for a fucking nightmare. This was the hardest video I've ever had to write. This took like so long and so many shuffles, and I had a full script about like 2 months before the video came out, and then I just redid a lot of it. Spend a lot of my time explaining fundamentals like this behind the scenes. Okay, I'm gonna lie to you. It's like in fucking in science in school where they're like, yeah, there's 3 what's it called? There's 3 like states of matter. There's actually 4. No, we lied. There's like 20. Fuck you. You're not learning about any of them. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's like I can't tell you this yet. We need the setup. There is more than 4 actually.
I like this. The last diabolical rogue player begging us to make an essay to revive that game. No, Too Good killed it. If he removes Tiny, I'll consider it. First thing they add to the game, and it's awful.
I haven't, T-John. I've gotten used to it. Right, I'm gonna keep playing. So it's clear where tension got its reputation from. People were applying too much when holding the mouse, stopped and noticed that their smoothness improved, then concluded that all tension was bad. But no, actually, what if I told you that grip tension wasn't the only type of it, and that correctly utilizing the other types is the actual way to not only get better at reducing grip tension, but also for getting smoother aim? But to achieve this, we need to understand how tension affects different parts of our aim, both positive and negative, and figure out how we can avoid those problems that are so commonly associated with it. Let's go back to the clip from the start of the video
line,
again.
actually.
That sudden burst of speed
Problems
is
that are
achieved
so commonly associated with it.
You read that. Let's go back to the clip from the start of the video again. That sudden burst of speed is achieved using tension, but instead of being located in the mouse grip, this tension is in the muscles of my wrist and arm. I have to place some stress in those muscles to get to that fast flicking speed. But then, how do I stop that movement? My approach at the time was to apply even more tension at the end of the flick. I like to think of tension as a scale from 1 to 10. The start of a movement like this might be a 5.
This
was not like as hard as it looks to make. It was very time consuming, but not that hard. But I think it added a lot to the video, and how smooth it looks, I don't know, I really like it.
I agree. I think it was a really important addition.
How are you able to fix a problem to try to power sock method? I haven't actually. What I did is run some weird regedit script I found online and fixed it.
Do not do this, guys.
I had nothing to lose. I'm like, fuck it. I'm not working on anything. If it breaks, I will reinstall Windows. It worked, yeah. The part where the bar helped me launch on my passy GM. Congrats and thank you. If you're desperate, right? Like, it's just like, fuck it. I'm so sick of this. If it doesn't work, I'm reinstalling. Yes. What did it contain? I don't know. I didn't look.
I said don't do it. But I guess it worked. Every internet safety rule just instantly broken.
Yeah.
It was fucked up though, because like that issue she was having was kind of common on Reddit, but everybody had a different solution.
It was fucking crazy. Like the amount of people saying like, oh, check your graphics card cables, or it's a power supply issue, it's a cooling issue. Like, no, I've checked. I've made sure it's none of those. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, restore point would have been smart.
Probably.
I guess you probably would have just wanted to reinstall anyway.
Yeah. Especially because it's on like XOS, it really doesn't take that long to reinstall.
That's true.
Do you actually feel the tension in different muscle groups, or is it just an intention you set for yourself? I do. Wrist is tough. I know with wrist, it's mainly like, okay, my correction is too harsh. I was holding onto too much tension. With like arm and upper shoulder, which, by the way, I am so sad I did not get to distinguish between arm and shoulder in this video. They do the same thing, but they have different tension budgets, and I feel like that's important. With those two, I definitely feel it. So, I miss Vanguard. Honestly, I just miss 10v10 and like 20v20. That was so fun.
I think the fingers are also pretty easy to tell.
Yeah, I agree. They do the same thing. Like, they both do similar movements and they work together for both. So like a really wide angle flick, you're covering like half your mouse pad. It's going to be like part elbow, part shoulder for the vertical, and then a little bit of wrist. No, I think I use much less shoulder than most people too, Anima. I think you kind of have to hover to get like proper shoulder activation.
Ince's Twitter activity is quite funny now. Yeah. He's branded himself as like a shoulder aimer.
Shoulder aimer.
Shoulder maxing. Makes sense for his style though.
It's true. Did you have to learn that awareness? For sure. At first I had no clue what tension was conceptually. I had to really like think about it and figure out like, okay, what does this do? Because yeah, when I started, the common advice was like, don't tense.
Mm-hmm.
Hold your mouse
like an egg. Yep. That's funny.
Even the end might be an 8. And this looks like it works. My crosshair does stop, but look at what happens after. This was perfect. I can't believe I landed right on the guy's head after the 180. To reach the target. This is because we only have a limited amount of tension to go around. You can test this for yourself. Tense your arm as much as you possibly can to the point of it almost vibrating for 5 to 10 seconds.
This is Pingu, by the
and
way.
then try to make very small movements with your arm straight away. It takes a while for it to recover from that exertion. The first movements will be shaky and jagged and only start to smooth out over time. I think this is the biggest miss in the video. Not content-wise, I think it's fine. I think I didn't quite get what I wanted for the segment. I wanted it to be, in editing, a really heavy switch up. Like, okay, we've got the solution. Tension at the end. Let's go. And then, no, actually, because we only have a limited amount. But I didn't really get that across in the voiceover. I think I needed to be more emotive, more sad. And I think, yeah, that was a bit of a miss. And I wasn't bothered to re-record because I needed to, get it out. I don't know if that really mattered though. I think the music carried a lot about conveying that emotion. I think there should have been a more explicit note in the video, like verbally, and there should have been even a line saying unfortunately, this doesn't work. I don't know. This is called lockout and is what happens when you try to use more tension than you have available.
Was such a good find too.
In the case of the clip from earlier, I add extra tension to stop, but have to wait to release that tension before I can micro-adjust smoothly. I know we're talking fractions of a second here, but in a gunfight, this difference is significant. Tensed, not tensed. Tensed, not tensed. This is just in the short term though, a tiny delay after an extreme burst of tension. But that isn't the only time this can happen. Both high amounts of tension very quickly and moderate amounts of tension over a long period of time can cause the exact same effect. An example of this might be a team fight in Apex. If your tension starts high and stays high, eventually you'll experience that same feeling. Your muscles will lock up and they just won't move right. So again, it seems like tension is a bad thing here. It's causing either a delay after any flick shot or shaky adjustments. But that's only if you don't know how to control it. That clip is so good.
It's really good.
Okay. Off topic, did your mouse grip change when you started using one fingertip? A little, yeah. I made sure that not all of my palm is touching at the moment. It's mainly under the base of my thumb and underneath my pinky. But I have to be able to detach both whenever I really need to. So
you should talk about your weird way of pressing the mouse buttons.
Oh yeah, it might be
hidden
crazy
tech.
So most people press the mouse wait, fuck, I can't see. Like this, right? I do it like this. This is not like this, right? It's just bending my knuckle instead. And it actually uses less tension. And I didn't know that I did this for any practical reason. But I think that might be it, because it developed from playing air scenarios where you really have to min-max tension management. But it works. I do use the new OP one. It's the same pretty much. It's better. It is better, but not that substantial. And I use the cicada wings grip tape. That feels so weird. It might take some adjusting, and I don't know if I recommend it, but for me personally, lower tension overall when holding mouse on. I do that when I haven't cut my nails. Well, you'll never guess what mine look like. People comment about them in my videos.
It's insane that you can do that. I'm actually crippled with my claw plus fingertip mobility. I can't have nails that grow out for more than a week. It's just over. Somebody asked about baranox sim style, why that doesn't cause tension lockout. It's got to be because of the lifting, right?
The core of it is that he doesn't really do any movements that would show the lockout,
That's true too, but I mean, he uses 7 cm or something ridiculous and never uses tension to stop because he's always
lifting the mouse at the end of his flicks, and because of that lift, you don't need any tension at the end. You don't really need to dynamically control it. It's you're tensing to move the mouse, you stop tensing when it's in the air.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works. Chivilius, thank you for the tier 1. Good night, JD. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Keen to record the podcast tomorrow.
Why did she call me pinguefy?
For Patreon VOD review, how long should the VOD be? I don't have a set limit, but don't send me something that's an hour long. I won't watch it all. Generally people just send in like Kovacs VODs, but it's meant to be only one, but I don't mind if they send a follow-up. And it, like, I don't know if DM VODs are allowed, quote unquote, but if you send me a 10-minute DM VOD, I won't be pissed at you or anything. Miss Colors has sent us a photo of this stream playing on her telly.
She put the soy jack image on it. You want to continue?
Mm-hmm. I found it helpful to think of high tension like sprinting. It does offer a very powerful burst of speed, but comes at the cost of a lot of energy. We have to rest and recover after doing it. You'll tire yourself out
Footage
too
from
fast
Olympics.
otherwise. I forgot I did that because I need footage credits. I gotta have them. I can't just credit everyone but the Olympics.
Because the damn rings are in the corner.
Okay, but what if someone doesn't know?
Okay.
To rest and recover.
Footage
from Olympics. You'll tire yourself out too fast otherwise. But if you were to
Nice
jog
upsell music,
instead
thank you.
or sprint for
Noah.
a little before going to a jog to let yourself recover, you'll be able to sustain a higher average speed for longer. This is the core idea behind... I think that was the most important part of the video, to be honest. I feel like there are probably some people who like zoned out during that and got kind of lost after, because that is the concept, right? That's the
Right,
whole
yeah.
thing. Thank you, Granger. Thank you. Managing tension over any period of time, controlling when you utilize it and when you relax to get the most out of the tension you do have, your tension budget. The second method of stopping the momentum of a flick is that idea compressed into the space of a single mouse movement. You release the tension from the start of the flick before you reach the target. Let the momentum generated carry you the rest of the way. This is tension budgeting in the short term, going from a sprint to a jog. After implementing this technique, I was able to make those snappy movements while still being able to adjust fluidly afterwards. I wasn't stuck in that recovery period. This is exactly how good tension management leads to good smoothness. Having smooth aim isn't just about moving at one speed consistently. It's about being able to dynamically go between different speeds as required, smoothly blending fast flick shots into controlled micro adjustments with no delay or shakiness in between, which is impossible without using tension. Through controlling that tension, we can combine the benefits of a smooth style, the seamless movements and lack of shakiness, with the speed of a snappier style. I think that was the best part of the video. I think it's like super condensed, good explanation. And I do a good job of recovering from my intro setup of like, what about smoothness? Well, now I want to talk about flicks. How do I link them? And I think I did a good job of that there. That is the part of the video I think people should rewatch if they don't get it. Because that's the whole concept.
Yeah.
When looking at it conceptually, that is it. What about smaller movements of power, for example, when holding angles at long distance? There you want to place some tension in your fingertips, and I don't think you need to worry too much about releasing it mid-flick if it's like a tiny movement, but you do still want some movement, some tension for those movements, in my opinion. Do you think fingertip grip is superior for aiming in general? No.
No. A fingertip grip right here? No.
It's all trade-offs, and
Yeah.
it always will be. For me, I still use claw. I've just made sure to have some, fingertip mobility. Whenever you're making these videos, do you have the voiceovers first, or you're doing it with clips? I sometimes have like a rough idea, and like I'll show you actually. For the video I'm working on right now, I have gotten footage notes for the whole thing. So because I have to get like real life recording footage for this. I have notes for the entire video about like, this is the shot that I want to get the footage. And that can happen even before, recording the voiceover. But generally I will just put in the voiceover and go through kind of like line by line and find something that matches. I saw someone ask about fingertip horizontal movements. You might be a better person for this because you're really fucking good at it.
Thank you.
But for me, it is like kind of tilting the mouse. Does that make sense? Like I'm
Within
applying
your
pressure
hand?
with my thumb. I'm applying pressure with my pinky. And those offer a kind of weird way to aim, but it gives you really good fine control if you can adjust to it. So yeah, pinky, thumb, pinky, thumb.
So it's more of a rotation for you than
Yeah, like you, like I can't do that.
What do you mean you can't do that? Well, I guess because of your grip, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's how it works in full fingertip. This is how it works for me. So not quite as substantial, but enough to get, fine corrections.
Yeah. Well, that's all you need, really.
Do you still have your palm on the mouse when you use your fingertips? Sometimes. Generally here, yes. Here, occasionally no. But in like normal grip, here and here is touching with like a big gap here. What's your guys' recommended mouse grip for people with big hands on the bigger side? It all depends on your mouse, of course. I think claws a pretty safe place to start. If you're palming right now, try just curling your fingers a little. That's how it started for me. If you're fingertip gripping, no need to change, I don't think. Unless you have like a specific reason. Dot skate's better than Jade's. Ultra Glide Silence. I like the Ultra Glide Speeds more as well. TBTL controls. Artisan Dot.
Yeah.
Raven, thank you for the tier 1. Any tips on motivation for aim training? I am very goal focused, so I want right now 11.5k control sphere. So every day I'm playing a little bit of control sphere to, keep progressing towards that goal. And if I don't get anywhere, it's like, okay, whatever. That's what works for me. If you're the kind of person where having a super strict daily routine, extra control sphere. A super strict routine, maybe you can make like an extra control sphere routine instead of just playing like random control sphere scenarios, which is what I do. Or, VDM works for a lot of people. Consistency. It has never worked for me. And I think the biggest thing people do in aim training that I don't think they should is kind of force themselves to that, to that structure and to that really set in stone. Like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to play my VDM. Never worked for me. And I think it can kind of encourage like autopiloting in your practice, and I don't think it's great for a lot of people. If it works for you, it works for you, but it didn't work for me at all. So, don't worry, Sleepy Astrid, I still get lockouts sometimes in my runs. It's really tough. It's really tough, especially in extra control sphere, which is why I'm playing it so much. Do you try to focus on one scenario, then grouping it into reaching PB? Generally, I do categories. Right now, I'm doing extra control sphere because, both Matty and Clover have told me, this is the scenario. I got, 11.5, I got 12k on this, and then I went, fucking crazy. And I'm like, okay, deal. I'll put in the fucking 100 hours extra control sphere torture chamber.
Every day I wake up, she's on extra control sphere.
It's so painful. I fucking hate it. I was averaging 10.5k today, and I couldn't fucking get 11k once. It's so bad. It's so bad. At what point do you jump up a level? I try to get complete before moving on, but I know a lot of people don't bother. I think both are valid. Then what about for even faster movements? Large angle flick shots like these, does the same idea of releasing tension mid-flick still apply there? Yeah, and if anything, it gets more important the larger the flick is. The more you have to move your mouse, and the faster you move your mouse, the more tension you use and inertia you create, which all still has to be counteracted to stop that movement. So stopping the mouse using tension requires more of it. The downsides get worse. but stopping by releasing tension gets easier. Since the
JD
window
got
you
fucking
have to
owned,
release
by
it
the
in, it
way.
gets larger.
Look at that.
On top of that though, there is
I
another
also want to point out, you're going to talk about the glitch.
stopping by releasing tension.
I was gonna talk
gets
about
easier.
Dexerto.
Since the
Oh, that was so fucking funny. I didn't know they posted it for like a month. And
JD
then-
got posted too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she didn't know either.
That was her Marvel Rivals post, and it got like a fuck ton of likes. And this got so many comments accusing me of
window you
cheating.
have to release it in, it gets larger. On top of that though, they
I also want to say, Control sphere far larger, try my wagon. Did you see what I did for the beginner benches? I made Control sphere far larger. I watched one of these videos many times, which I thought it was a scene transition.
is another technique we can implement here to make our movements flow together even better. But to explain that, I first need to talk about muscle groups. There are two muscle groups that most people use to move the mouse, the wrist and the arm.
This shot actually looks pretty good.
Because of its smaller range of motion, the wrist is more suited to smaller movements like the one showed earlier. The arm, on the other hand, has a higher maximum speed and a wider range of motion, so we want to primarily use it for larger movements.
What do you think of low button height? I think I prefer it. I think,
I'm curious if there's a limit.
me too, because it makes me feel more precise with like fingertip adjustments, especially having them lower down. How much intention was behind arranging events basically that I did? I like them more. I like tracking more. I did those first, so they're up the top. Yeah, it's Control sphere far, comma larger. What's
That's
on your
funny.
playlist like Spotify? A lot of metal. Not much else right now. What time is it for you right now? 1 in the morning. We got half the video to go.
Then is
We're doing
just
terrible.
us
Yeah, we're
activating
doing hard.
muscles. That means that we can tense each muscle group individually.
I like
So
these
for flicks,
visualizations.
Yeah,
we
this
can
is
tense our arm without tensing our wrist. What this means is that even if we can't release all of that tension we needed to start the flick in our arm in time, we can still make follow-up movements with our wrist since it already had very low tension. Each muscle group has independent tension budgets, so we can dynamically change how much tension we are applying to each one to let the other recover. This applies across every type of aiming as well. For example, start a track by adjusting with your wrist and slowly transition into following through with your arm. The arm and wrist aren't the only two muscle groups we can use though. Remember grip tension, the thing that was never good and was the cause of unsmooth aim? Coming back to it, after learning all of this about dynamic tension management, gave me an idea. What if fingertip tension is similar, useful when controlled properly?
Why are you
And
blue?
it is.
I don't know.
Utilizing my
Oh, there
fingertips
you
when
go.
aiming was
Cringe.
honestly a pretty massive breakthrough for me, even though at the time I didn't move the mouse with my fingertips at all. The first benefit this has is stability. Since placing more tension in your fingertips will make movements more rigid and snappy, even if those movements are made with a different muscle group, varying the amount of fingertip tension you have opens up a way to get similar benefits to what wrist tension offers without actually tensing your wrist.
Good night, Raven.
Good night.
Thanks for stopping by. I'm curious if this makes sense to people, that increasing fingertip tension will make movements more rigid. I'm curious if this is like an intuitive concept or...
I would think so, because like this is the tension that most people think about when they hear the word
Yeah, I
tension.
agree. It's also what I crutch on super heavy in this
Fits
scenario. This
to
is like
what wrist
all
tension
fingertip
offers
tension.
without actually tensing your wrist.
Mouse skates for tack FPS. I just use artisan dots, honestly. That's it for me. Like artisan dot, done.
I'm actually curious how many pro players use aftermarket skates.
Me too. I know Twist had never tried them, Twists.
Mhm.
And he's a fucking super nerd. He's tried like fuck ton of mouse pads, fuck tons
That's
of
crazy
mouse.
to me.
And yeah, I asked him, like, you ever used aftermarket skates? He's like, no. Never really used grip tape either.
That makes sense with his grip though.
When I tense my fingers, my aim instantly goes to shit. This is something I really got a handle on, like, very recently. And I think if anything was to be cut from the video, it was probably this mention of it. But maybe for flicks, it's okay. Yes, big fencing, generally. Yeah, it's intuitive. It's that snappiness thing. Okay. It's also like the shakiness, you know? It's like the inverse of that. It's like that, but utilized. I think that was probably the strongest segment of the video, actually. I've changed my mind. The song is really good.
Which one is it?
This is the one you chose from the
Shenzhen
obscure,
IL?
puzzle game.
That was a Northern Line Let's Play from 2013. Pulled that one out.
Crazy. So when tracking a target, if you have to correct for a change in direction, you might place some tension in your fingertips to make that correction snappier, which will work even if you don't move the mouse with your fingertips at all. Dynamically controlling the amount of tension I placed in my fingertips, adding or removing it as needed, was what finally got rid of my issues with gripping my mouse too tightly. That was definitely a glass pad whiff, by the way. Not like gripping my mouse too tightly, but you know. Gotta bend the truth a little. Control over it fixed that weakness. The second and much more impactful element is actually using them to make movements. Even when holding my mouse in a... I feel like that needed a more distinct like signifier, like... No, actually maybe it was okay. It's probably because we're watching it in snippets. But... I don't know. Claw grip. They have a surprisingly large range of motion. And since they are the most precise muscle group we have, the accuracy within that range of motion was a lot better than what my wrist could offer. Plus, having a third tension budget to offset tension too helped a lot with my overall tension management over longer periods. Okay, I know this is a lot of information and it can be pretty hard to grasp what this stuff actually does when looking at it in a purely theoretical context. So how does... I had that little drawback moment planned for quite a while of like deep look into the theory. Okay, I know this is hard to follow. How do we apply this? And I just hope people can stay like, you know, focused long enough to sit through that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How old are these Apex clips? Well, this is Hollows. What was my last one? I got some old ones in this video. 2021 maybe?
Mm-hmm. I feel like most of the ones in BR are probably 2021.
Yeah.
And the DM ones are recent. Bye, Grinja.
See you, Grinja. So when you say tension to fingers, is that for micro adjustments too? Can be both. They can act as a stabilizer for larger movements. Like, you know, if you're fingertip gripping, for example, you can tense your fingers more to keep the mouse in a more consistent place throughout the movement. Otherwise, it'll kind of bounce a little. And it can be for adjustments themselves, like, you know, increasing the tension, making more rigid, snappy movements, specifically with your fingertips. Do you think the majority of improvement came from mindful observation or measured behavior through hours of practice? I have kind of done both a lot. I got pretty good in like 2022. I think I was pretty good. And that was all brute force. That was like, I'm just going to play a lot of aim training, a lot of games, and like how, you know, how much time can I possibly afford to invest? I want to get as good as I can. That's how. And then since then, I had, you know, my final exams, and then these last 2 years have been very focused on like content creation for me. And I haven't really been able to just dump 8 hours a day into video games. So that kind of led me to thinking more about my mechanics and optimizing my practice, and that has helped more.
Mm-hmm.
Both did work though, but I definitely am a lot better now, and I think that's because I have a much deeper understanding of mechanics and what to work on and how to isolate weaknesses and improve upon them. So yeah, that's kind of my answer. Brute force can work though. It has for a lot of pros.
Mm-hmm. I think I've gotten so much better in the last 2 years of playing FPSs because that's when I started practicing the skill of self-analysis a lot more. Like, it was always there, but like watching my gameplay back at the end of many games was, I don't know if it's a breakthrough moment, but it was such an important tool for me to like...
Because it's all so clear, right? When you watch your gameplay.
Yeah.
So clear. A big thing for me in Kovacs was being conscious of my mechanics mid-run. So like, if I'm playing it and I'm over-aiming on a specific bot, I will recognize that in the moment and correct for it. You can see it in some of my runs, because I will suddenly go from overcorrection to, okay, stop doing that, and then I stop doing it. It's yeah, very impactful. How important is training your eyes? I don't know. I know DDK has been talking to me about this a lot. He got some strobe glasses today, actually.
Really, got today?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see the follow-up to that video.
Me too. I have never done it though. I have god awful eyesight, and my eye training has been play Curvax. And yeah, I have bad eyes, bad focus, and I'm doing okay. I don't think it's that important, but I might be sleeping on it. I don't know.
It's hard to say because you've done it unintentionally as well.
Like the eye training?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like reactive stuff.
And like peripheral vision through TS stuff.
When you do vertical fingertip, doesn't the mouse tuck in your hand causing a hover? Only the back of it actually lifts up. The only issue is that sometimes the sensor will stop tracking mid Curvax run, and I'm like, shit, okay.
That's rough.
But like other than that, not really. It doesn't cause any stability loss. TSing PvE. My PvE games right now are like Doom the Dark Ages, Doom Eternal. We actually played Borderlands 3 today, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, I was actually enjoying the TSing in that game.
Yeah, I had no TS weapons. I got like a SMG with like 50 rounds. I'm like, holy shit! And then it's like 6 bullet burst weapon or something, and it's just okay.
Okay, Ultra Kill is not a TS game though.
There's also RoboQuest.
Yeah,
and
Echo Point Nova.
Echo Point Nova. That's very fun. Found a question for a while. How do you seemingly know what enemies are outside of your FOV? Sometimes it is pure luck. There are definitely times where it's just like straight up that was completely RNG that he was there. Generally, it's me knowing where a common angle is and like flicking to that angle. Sometimes it's me hearing someone and being able to flick to them based on sound, which I actually practiced really specifically for probably more time than anyone else in the world has.
I was about to say, like, this is a skill that I think you're better than everybody at by like a far.
It was actually really helpful because yeah, like even if I don't land the initial flick, I can get like pretty close, pretty consistently, just based off sound. So text. So how does tension budgeting on a longer time frame apply in games? A big one for me was trying to flick as quickly as possible between angles. My thought process was that it would reduce the potential downtime where I could get swung and taken by surprise and kept me feeling locked in, and those things are true. But I didn't realize how much tension those movements used. Snapping between angles caused really both the delay between the flick and any movements after in the short term and a long-term tension budgeting issue. This was one of the only things I could really pin down when coaching a liege as like an actual aiming problem because he's so fucking good. What do you tell a liege?
Watching him play DM is like a movie.
Oh my god,
it's fucked
crazy.
up.
And this was one of the only things that like specifically, yeah, this is actually something that can be improved upon because there's nothing else to fucking improve. Anyway, tension would gradually increase as I kept flicking between points, and by the time I actually got into a gunfight, I had none left to utilize, both because of the high tension itself and because I was exclusively using my wrist. Now, through both implementing releasing my tension mid-flick and integrating more muscle groups into my aim, I'm never even close to entering lockout when starting gunfights. Any snaps between angles that do happen are led with my arm, leaving my wrist and fingertips free to micro-adjust if I need to. A similar thing can happen in tracking-focused FPS games as well. After a gunfight that requires a lot of tension, it's easy to unintentionally hold onto it, I think that's especially when nerves are factored in, but I couldn't find anything which can result in the same issue, entering the next gunfight almost at the point of lockout. This is why it's good to get into the habit of relaxing your muscles, releasing that tension and refilling your tension budget in preparation for your next engagement. This is probably part of why the advice to take deep breaths, relax and stay calm in games is so effective. It helps encourage good tension management by getting you to relax your muscles. Another thing to be mindful of in games that require tracking is the tension flicks use overall. Even with good tension management, if you are flicking really fast, that recovery period afterwards can cause a disconnect between a flick and a track. Sometimes it can be faster in terms of time to kill to flick a bit slower. stole this
especially in
line
games
from
like
a scrap
Apex or
video.
Overwatch, just to ensure that you have a smooth transition between the two movements.
I think it was a strong segment.
Mm-hmm.
I think looking back on this video, I wish I talked a bit more about how to like train tension management. I think that should have been a longer segment, but this video was so fucking long I couldn't justify adding anything else. But you know, maybe a bit more about how I aim train, but a lot of it is going to be so self-directed that general
Yeah.
advice is really hard to give.
And it's also mental too. This is
It
like something you
is, it
keep top of
is.
mind when playing DM or whatever practice method you choose.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
How consciously do you focus on aiming in competitive games? Earnest aim is significantly better when actively thinking about whether this focus in areas. Okay. That's tough. That's tough. Personally, I don't really. I will make a mental note if I fuck something up, but that's about it. Like if I'm tensing too much, I'll be like, don't do that. But it's more of like an error correction than like an active, okay, what should I do to aim at this guy right now?
Right. I think that if you're having that issue where you're aiming a lot better while thinking about it, you probably have to do that enough to the point where you don't have to think about it anymore. Practice with it in mind to the point where it becomes ingrained, and then you won't have to.
Now, this information is great and all, but keep in mind, when talking about flicking technique, this is how quickly that is all
Just because he was
happening.
invisible when he
It
hit
is
that. That's
impossible to
stupid.
be aware of this in real time, and I doubt most players who are very good at flicking have even considered it. The value of this knowledge comes from how it informs the habits you strive to develop. Unless you're doing something very wrong, like over-tensing like crazy for every movement or only using your wrist for everything, knowing and understanding this won't change your aim overnight. What it will do is set you up to develop better aiming technique and allow you to work towards a better balance of speed and smoothness. There are two parts to
They
this.
said it was
The
fun.
first is being aware of what different levels of tension feel like. The second is being able to control it on both short and long timescales. I worked on both of these by playing mostly tracking scenarios in aim trainers. Tension plays a similar role there to what it does in flicking. It is a temporary speed booster. When a target changes directions, we want to use some tension in our wrist or fingertips to catch up to it before releasing that tension once we do catch up to let our tension budget refill before the next strike.
I also think this is quite
Even
good
with that, we
actionable
have
advice.
to use tension sparingly though. These scenarios often go for a minute or longer, so even if you release that tension after an adjustment, using too
was
much
thinking
on
the
those
same thing.
adjustments will build up over time and can lead to lockout.
That actually took
Scenarios-
so long to keyframe because I went through and manually keyframed it for each one of those
Tension
little.
sparingly though. These scenarios often go
I don't know,
for a minute or longer, so
adjustments.
even if you release that tension after an adjustment, using too much on those adjustments will build up over time and
Thank you
can
for the
lead
9
to
months,
lockout.
Cookie.
Scenarios like air voltaic or whiff were fantastic for making me more aware of what different levels of tension felt like and how much I actually needed for each movement.
Not gonna lie, 99% of my knowledge of tension comes from maybe like 80% actually comes from playing air scenarios. You have to develop good tension management for air. I wasn't kidding when I said air voltaic is essential. It was like the foundation where like I'm like, okay, why am I so shaky? Oh, I'm over tensing throughout the run and not releasing it enough. I'm entering lockout. Why can't I make these vertical adjustments smoothly? Oh, I'm too tense. It was this continuous like troubleshooting of tension management by just playing the scenario over and over and thinking about it. It was so impactful. I really can't overstate how much it helped.
Exception, tension issues over a longer time frame had much more
Let me go back.
mental. With a single exception, tension issues over a longer time frame had much more mental than physical causes for me. Things like bad habits I'd built up or issues I just wasn't conscious of. Some examples that I've talked about here are death gripping your mouse, snapping very quickly to angles, or not releasing tension after fights. But there are a lot more, and I don't have the time to go through them all in this video.
This one is
In my-
prediction leading to increased tension because I have to make snappier adjustments. I don't know if that was obvious through the gameplay, but that's the issue I'm showing.
Releasing tension after fights, but there are a lot more, and I don't have the time to go through them all in this video. In my experience, the best way to identify these was reflection. A lot of the time, these issues...
This is funny. This is a real clip from a stream of mine back in 2021. Worst whiff I've ever had, probably. And it was on stream.
It's with accel, right?
It was, yeah. I was trying Mouse Excel.
It's fucked up. This is your worst whiff because it looks like you're just going for something
Shit.
silly.
A lot of
you
the
know?
time, these issues lead to
It's,
dying in game,
it's
which
pretty
is actually
bad.
kind of a-
It's pretty bad.
There's a whiff of mine from a stream that still lives in my head rent free. Where
Oh
it
my
was so
God.
bad I actually ended the stream.
positive here. It gives you time to think about if you were too tense or not, figure out why it came about, and make a note to release that tension in the future.
I don't know if this example really works. This is on 5 centimeters. And I definitely look kind of tense, but I don't know if I look tense enough for it to be like obvious.
Or not, figure out why it came about, and make a note
Yeah,
to
it's good
release
enough.
that tension in the future.
Walking looks goofy. It's
The
fun.
one
I enjoyed
exception
it.
to this mental rule was muscle group utilization.
Let me see.
I used to play with only my arm, then swapped to only my wrist when I started using a higher sensitivity. And no matter what I tried, I just couldn't have good tension management when only using a single muscle group. There simply was nowhere to offset tension to, and a lot of the time you won't have a chance to just stop moving mid-fight and release that tension without offsetting it to a different body part. It's like trying to run a relay race solo. You're probably going to lose. I recommend trying to use at least 2 muscle groups, but honestly, I found that I got a lot better at skills I was really weak at after actively training all 3.
Thank you, Claire Gontaz, for the Prime sub.
I like the question of like which artist would be the closest speech to the Razor's Trade. I'm like, oh, it's the Hien, but not the Hien.
Because it is the Hien. I guess then Otsu, but they do kind of different things. Do you 5 or 2 with always? Where do you benchmark? Oh, that's tough. I'd be surprised if I wasn't Grandmaster. I'd be surprised if I was Nova. I think it's doable, but tough.
Now for the hard part, actually being able to release tension in the middle of a flick or a track. How I went about this personally was with aim trainers. I played scenarios like Waldo TS or Beam TS for flicks, as well as the aforementioned tracking scenarios, and actively thought about how much tension I was using or when I was releasing it. I don't think aim trainers are
4 TS in
absolutely
Valorant,
needed
by
for
the
this
way.
though.
Holy.
I know that thinking about your aim when you're playing is generally considered a bad thing, and I agree. I try to keep my mind on the match when I'm in one, but when practicing, whether that's in death matches
Zemi.
or aim trainers, I've found that actively thinking about my mechanics, experimenting with different variables, figuring out what works best and focusing on making that a habit to be incredibly valuable. So in those death matches, I might try experimenting with how early within the flick I can release my tension before I start to underflick. Or on those Kovac scenarios, I'll see how much tension I can use when starting a flick before it has any negative impacts. This process of experimenting with different ideas, seeing how they change my own mechanics and reflecting on that to see what works and what doesn't, has been invaluable to both my understanding of tension within aiming and honestly, aiming as a whole. And if you take one thing away from this video, it should be that. Don't be afraid to experiment with your mechanics. It forces you to actively think about your aim and what you can do to improve it, which, at the end of the day, is what practice is all about.
Little sync at the end there. Felt good. I think that was a good ending. I think it is
Yeah.
my strongest besides the
Jimmy?
top 10 aim trainers and the shimmy ending. I think the shimmy ending is my best there.
I'm glad you're getting into this habit of like ending on a really strong note because it matters a lot.
I think so too. If anyone in the chat knows of Jacob Geller, he actually has, I'm following his Nebula. He did a talk on video creation and he emphasized like he puts the most time by far into the ends of his videos, not the starts, the ends, because like that is what the viewer will be left with. That's what they'll be chewing on, and he wants his videos to like stay in people's minds. And if any of you have watched Jacob Geller videos, you will know that it fucking works. So they sit in your head for a long time, and I think that's why. So yeah, I've put a lot more time into my outros recently.
Pretty much every single video I've ever scripted for main channel, I always try to pull like a life lesson out of it. Even if it makes like barely any sense, I think it just makes, exactly what you just said.
Jimmy videos fucking cinema. Thank you. I really do think it's my best work, and keen to make more videos like that. Not in the sense of like I will catch every Kovacs cheater, but like, you know, telling stories and trying to be more captivating with them.
Someone left a comment that was like, I've seen what happened with Carl Drops. You're gonna become a drama channel now. Like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I was pissed. reading that
I'll
comment.
invent more aim training cheaters to expose. Yeah, sure, buddy. Massey exposed for cheating. The part of practicing each individual arm group got me a little confused to suffer different sensitivity. Roughly, yeah. So like for Smoothbot, for example, you can isolate the actual arm moving aspect of it by going lower. So like 60 cm, you have to move your arm, right? It's like arm workout. And then you can go 30 cm immediately after to practice arm precision, because you're still in the habit of like, okay, I'm going to use my arm, but you have to be a lot more precise with it, right? Because you're in a higher sense, you're still going to use your arms. So that's kind of how I go about it. Varying high and low sense to like establish a habit, get used to using it, and then train that muscle group in isolation. I hope that makes sense. If someone is using mouse acceleration, would you recommend them to turn it off? I'd recommend trying turning it off, because I had a bit of a epiphany when I first turned it off. So
Me too. It's interesting though, because like we both use it for a while. And
yeah,
I don't
think you
know
longer.
when in that process it would be most beneficial to turn it off, because it was beneficial to turn it on.
Yeah, which is tricky.
But I would agree.
I definitely kept it on for too long, in my opinion.
Me too. I had them for way too long. Watching my old Gundam clips is like, holy fuck, I am obviously using mouse accel. I cannot.
It's always funny when you can tell. Same with glass. I'm like,
Yeah,
that person's
yeah.
playing glass in the static room. It's quite funny. What do you think of DPI deviation? I think it's kind of overblown. DPI deviation will occur between mice, obviously, but also between copies of the same mouse. And here's what most people don't know. Between mouse pads, they change your DPI. Or mouse skates, you know? This was a fucking complete not a headache when testing mouse pad friction levels. But for the end user, doesn't matter. You'll never notice. There are so many factors that are more significant than DPI deviation. Thoughts on glass mouse pads? Oh boy. I have a video planned. Crux of the video is I think they're okay. I think a lot of people are wrong about them though. I don't think it is a more pure aiming experience. I don't think it'll, you know, transform your mechanics. I don't think they're universally better. I don't think the peak of human skill will be achieved on glass. I don't think it's any more or less likely than it being achieved on cloth.
I think the way people talk about friction is just really wrong.
I agree. It's like it's a bad thing in the
Right.
limiter. When it's a tool, you work with it, you know?
Exactly.
There are a lot of trade-offs that come from glass pads that just aren't talked about at all, you know? People say it makes like aiming harder and you got to adjust to it, but like it's not adjusting, it's relearning. It's very foundational in how it affects your mechanics, and I think people don't get that.
That's well said.
And yeah, I think it's good for some people. Some people will love it. I don't. I fucking hate it. And the amount of times I've had people say like, why do you care about artisan? Just buy glass, lol. Has driven me fucking insane.
I think for a good number of games, it won't limit you. But there are games where it's just going to be harder for basically no benefit.
I agree.
And especially for consistency.
But yeah, it is very foundationally different. And just because like people go from cloth to glass, and glass is like challenging and they're like, oh, glass must be harder. People go from glass to cloth and it's challenging. And their reaction is like, oh, I'm just adjusted to glass. You know, why doesn't it work both ways?
What'd you say fuck me for?
Can remember please host community lobby of some kind? I would love to. I think finals banquet I would love to do a little revival for. My favorite main in the game. I think overall I'm happy with the video. I think the comments kind of tricked me in retrospect by, I don't know, making me think I didn't explain it well. or
You gotta
anything.
listen to me. This always happens. YouTube comments are evil.
Yeah, I don't know. This
Especially
one was
the bigger you get, the
worse.
worse the comments get.
Because, like, I don't know, I think the video flows really well. I think I segmented it pretty well. There were a couple mistakes. There were a couple things that, like, looking back, I should have done this differently. But it's pretty minor. There's not that much that's like, this is shit. I don't think there's anything that's like, this is shit. It's like, this is a incorrectly read line or something, or, you know, stuff like that. I think for most people, it's been a pretty good video. And it's doing well again, which has been nice.
I think they also don't recognize that you're not making a textbook. You're making a piece of entertainment. And that will change the way you go about explaining certain things and the way you format certain things.
Have you seen Buckshot's tension guide?
I have.
I think it's a very good resource. There is zero chance 100,000 people have clicked on it or read it or would get through it. Nothing against Buckshot. He's fantastic. But, you know, his language used, the way he explains things is very high level. He doesn't care about simplifying the topic. He just wants to get the info across. And nothing wrong with that. It's the format he wanted the guide to take.
For sure.
But it's not what I'm doing. And I think it's what people expect me to do in video form, which...
Yeah. There's a big difference. And I think appealing to a broader audience has a lot of value. And making concepts approachable to people who aren't as well versed in the space is also really valuable.
But yeah, Buckshot's guide, I want to talk about this actually. I credit him in the description. Originally, I was going to make a video that was an adaptation of his guide. That didn't quite manifest. I got some of the ideas for here in that, like, you know, attention budgeting as a concept, lockout as a concept. I have built on those ideas for my own video, obviously, and also, you know, changed a lot of the explanation. So he describes it as like, you know, gears of a car. He fucking loves cars. And that's how he kind of explains it. Like, you go between different gears, that's your muscle groups, and how, you know, different gears will do different things. That's his analogy. I swapped it out for sprinting and jogging because I'm not that familiar with cars. And, you know, I think it's a bit more approachable. It's more universal. I don't think anyone will be reading that who has never, I don't know,
Run?
I don't think anyone's going to be watching my video who's never gone for a run, but there will definitely be people who read his guide, and, you know, even gear sticks are getting phased out now. So
that's true.
That's one example of the kind of thing you have to think about when making videos for a broader audience. Not misleading because they imply the use of muscle groups and mutually exclusive and they often use at the same time. This is something I actually want to talk about too, and thank you for reminding me. I did not get the chance to disambiguate muscle group utilization being a blended thing. It's really tricky. I couldn't work it into this video. I really fucking tried, but there was nowhere where it made sense other than like pausing the video and being like, hi, disclaimer, I want to correct misinfo. Because, you know, an arm flick is not going to be purely arm. It's going to be a little wrist and a lot arm. And how much of each you use will determine a lot of characteristics about the movement, you know? Wrist aimers will probably still use their arm and fingertips a little, even if they think they only use their wrist, because it's very natural for a lot of movements to use multiple things. And it's the ratio of how much you use of each that changes. But I did not get a chance to disambiguate that, and I don't know when I will, so it can go here for now. Optimum on raw input. I would love to get him on, but I don't know. We've only talked twice. I don't know him well enough to ask. Viscose mouse one. It would just be an OP one. I'm not gonna lie.
Is there anything you would change about the shape? Like, would you want to try thinner?
I would actually, yeah. And I think I might actually like having flare here.
At the front?
At the front.
Like a final mouse flare? It goes out a little bit?
I don't know. Not angled in the same way, but just like having something for my pinky to kind of rest on so that it's not tucked under, it's sitting here.
I see.
I'll actually show that on the hand cam.
Orbital, get on that.
Because this is like my one gripe with my mouse grip. Having it like tuck in is kind of uncomfortable sometimes. I think having it sit here would feel a bit more natural. But that would be the most awkward flare.
Reverse
of all
NPO1S.
time. Kinda.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
I'm still quite curious to try that shape. I feel like that KPU are like the only ergo shapes that have tried something.
I agree.
That
The rest
isn't
are just like easy.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, honestly. I guess they're really risky, but
Master Hitman. It took some getting used to, I'm not gonna lie. I think how like my fingers are, I naturally have very bent fingers. I think that plays a role in making it like possible in the first place.
you mean like laterally?
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like look at my pinky. It like sticks this way and it's natural. My other hand does it. Yeah. Oh, should I stream again? So, firstly, my middle finger is like bent as fuck. I don't know if it shows. I don't want to flip you all off, but it's horrible. And then here, it doesn't really show. It sticks out here and then like cuts this way. Which is probably the only reason why my grip is like possible for me.
Genetic advantage with the bent middle finger.
My fingers are fucking malformed specifically to hold a mouse.
Maybe actually. You think so?
No. It's on both hands.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Technique and scoring. I focus technique primarily.
I think technique will eventually lead to scores, but not necessarily the other way around.
I agree. You can get to Grandmaster with pretty shit technique. I have a weird question. I have really bad OCD and usually I play mouse cam on the left side. Is this important for you? I don't know why I was thinking about this the other day because I was watching JD's video and she has a hand cam on the right side. I don't know why I have it on the left. Does it bother you out of interest? Is it like a
What's the average?
OCD triggering thing? Is left average?
I don't know. I think it is.
I think right would be average.
Does Severe have a hand cam?
Matty does, and it's on the left.
Okay.
I think.
Who
But
are
he
the
might
other
have-
known hand cammers?
I don't know.
Riley?
I feel like people who get a hand cam in this community have probably seen my video, so I'm probably biasing them towards
Well,
left side hand cams.
maybe, but hand cams have been around for a while.
I want the right hand on the right side. Fair point.
I used to invert my webcam because it just felt better to me, and I would get
That's
so
funny.
many questions about left hand aiming.
I remember Juicer got the same questions.
That's funny. Nav just said the same thing. Sharing our one brain cell.
My fingers are both curved inwards. And my brothers and my grandparents. I think my sister has the same thing as me, actually. So,
The middle finger?
yeah.
Huh.
No,
Strange.
maybe not. Her hands are very different to mine. She got my dad's hands.
I see.
And yeah, once the new CPU arrives, I will stream. I want to stream finals for sure. Maybe COD, maybe Overwatch. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, the 15. I can't fucking believe how good it is. Like, I was playing Doom Eternal earlier, and I was getting 600 frames at native 1440p max settings and 400 with ray tracing on. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid.
Where's Resi?
Pardon?
Is Resi?
Resi?
Resident Evil?
Oh yeah. 200 FPS, 1440p native, max settings with ray tracing in Resident Evil 4 remake.
It's fucked.
It's ridiculous. It's so overkill.
Battlefield 5 is like 350.
Yeah.
It was like 500 in the training range.
I think it'd be
too.
400 in like a proper game that isn't underground.
Yeah, 350 underground breakthrough is
Yeah.
fucked up. Most people are getting like 100.
Thank you for the tier 1 Iverzork. I'm still on 145 Hz. RX 570.
That
Oh my
reminds me
God.
that I asked somebody like, "Oh, do you use DLSS?" And she was like, "No, my card doesn't support that." And she had like a 1060 or something.
Oh no! Intel XeSS is pretty good now. That GPU is my entire new. It's my entire new PC budget too. I don't know what the fuck. It's so much. I paid about 4,000 AU for it, which is actually like a good price. I'm pretty happy I got it at that price because they usually go for about like 5,500. It's kind of stupid. And like it's definitely too much for a graphics card. I'm not going to deny that, but you know, this is my job. I can make dumb decisions sometimes. Hey Livy, welcome.
Hi, video.
Bro's rich. Not anymore. I bought a 5090. I'd say it's worth for you. Render times are fucking crazy now. That might justify it alone, honestly. Claimed on tax. True. Horizon of 4090. No, it's a great card. Great card. I have a 9950 X30 at the moment, but I'm going to sell it and get a 9800 X30 because it's not fucking working. This has been the headache. It like, oh my god. Do you all want the PC troubleshooting story or do I spare you?
Is 9800 not dual CCD?
9800 is single CCD.
Oh.
Awesome Cats. My dad actually got 2 4K monitors, like for work, quote unquote. He's an accountant.
He just has accel open in 4K.
I think he got his he was a 6900 XT, and I think he got that with as a tax write-off as well.
Fuck yeah.
For accounting. Story? Okay. So when I had the 4080, I did not realize that I was being CPU bound because this CPU is so good that it was still able to fully drive a 4080 in basically everything I played. And I got the 5090 and I'm like, oh my god, it's running so well in like everything but esports titles. And I, you know, had a look and checked a few things and it was pulling 60 watts. And for anyone who knows the CPU, TDP 170, PPT 240. Highest I had ever seen mine go was 90. So it's being like completely fucking kneecapped and I hadn't even noticed because it was still so good. But anyway, I obviously wanted it to run properly so I can get, you know, good frame rates in like esports games. Your dad is an accountant? Yes, thank God. He said he's going to help me with taxes for this stuff. He is an accountant and a farmer, which is a funny combo. So yeah, CPU is getting completely kneecapped. At this point, I'm convinced it's the CPU because I ended up swapping my cooler, swapping my case, redoing all the fucking airflow in my case. Okay, swap the power supply. All right, didn't do anything. So then I'm like, fuck this. There's no way it works. And chuck it in your computer because you also have an M5 build and it fucking works. What the fuck? And it's pulling 140 watts, which is still kind of low, but I've never seen it pull 140. So what the fuck is going on? At this point, like, all right, whatever. So we swap the motherboards. Takes a day. And you had problems getting it to work. You could get it to fucking Windows after I swapped the motherboard. I was worried I'd like killed your Windows install or
The
something.
solution was so stupid. I'm still pissed.
God, you can go if you want. Go crazy.
I don't really understand it, but like every time I would try to boot into BIOS, it would just be stuck on a black screen forever. And apparently, it's because it was outputting to the display port.
Yeah.
When there was no display port plugged in and no monitor on the other end.
But this motherboard always pushes that to DisplayPort.
It's so stupid. It was like a phantom DisplayPort signal.
So dumb.
So we had to plug it into DisplayPort, and then it showed up, and then I could install, you know, like a boot menu, and it was okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's back in my PC now, mostly working with your motherboard. It's pulling about 140, which again, still low, PPT of 230, but it's doing okay. And then I try the finals and COD, and they run exactly the same as before. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Why did I bother? And I think it's core allocation. And I've done both before anyone says anything. I've done both the AMD X3D optimization mode, fucking game mode thing, and the process lasso and X3D gaming mode. None of them have worked. So I'm selling this thing and I'm getting a 9800 XCD and I'm making 500 AUD back and I am calling it quits. I've had enough with this fucking headache CPU.
We've swapped like almost every component.
God. Genuinely every component.
Because I took your graphics card We swapped RAM last build.
Yeah.
We swapped motherboards. We swapped CPUs twice.
Oh, it's taken so long. Black Ops 6. But it's happening in the finals too, which I know people say the finals isn't optimized. I've seen people get 400 FPS with my setup in that game. So there is something going wrong. So yeah, I've ordered 98. Gonna put it in when it arrives, and yeah. Just gotta see how it goes.
PC troubleshooting fucking sucks.
Oh, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Because it's so delayed and you never know. Like, you spend 2 hours swapping the motherboard. Is it going to work? No fucking clue. Anyway, that's what I've been up to for about a week
kind
now.
of nightmarish.
Most games are working properly now, at least. And like, oh my god, the frame rates are so good. I tried TF2, Team Fortress 2. I was getting 1700 and hit the Source Engine soft cap of 1000. So if you go above that in a Source 1 game, you start speed hacking.
Yeah.
And you move too quick.
The physics were all wrong. Specifically, gravity was fucked up. People would just fall really fast.
It's so funny.
Only local servers, of course. Or if you host them, I guess.
Yeah.
Really strange, though. So would that happen in CS as well?
Yeah, CSGO. I don't know about CS2. I have a question. Why do I play online scenarios? You want to hit the challenge mode up the top in the pause menu. If you're in free play, it'll go forever. Okay, there you go. PC troubleshooting tangent over.
We're not watching the Jimmy video.
No chance. Will we get a raw input with Riley? That could be fun.
I would like to. I think she'd fit in well.
Favorite anime? I have seen Cowboy Bebop and that's it. So that's my favorite.
No. You've seen a little Food Wars.
I have seen a little Food
bit of
Wars.
Yamada's first time.
Yamada's first time. I have been forced into watching anime against my will. Okay. I know there is a 3 in my prescription, Granger. I don't know where it is. Hey, anime is good. I like Cowboy Bebop. I didn't enjoy Food Wars that much. Oh, this is a fucking crazy story. So when I was in high school, probably year 9, there was a group of maybe 12 of us that were really close, good friends. And one of the blokes was really, really keen on Food Wars. And he's like, this is the best anime I've ever watched. It's like top 1 favorite anime. He's hyping it up. And really good friend of mine, her name's Amelia, said like, okay, let's all watch it together. You know, let's come over to my place. We'll all watch it. She really liked anime. And so that was organized. We went to there. It was a nice time. Amelia had throwing knives. So I got to try throwing knives. Anyway, we're all sitting in the living room watching Food Wars. Have any of you seen Food Wars? Just out of interest. I think it was, who was there? Tom, Samuel, Gabe. So 3 blokes, the rest of us were girls. Oh. So as it starts, we're realizing like, what the fuck is this? Okay, I don't remember that. That's not as good as I thought. Oh, maybe
God.
It's top 3. Maybe it's top 5.
I think when you've watched that much anime, it just you completely get desensitized to it. And then once other people are seeing it who aren't desensitized to
Right.
the tropes, it's like, oh, fuck.
I know Amelia had seen anime, and a couple of the other girls had. I hadn't, and most of them hadn't. So we were like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, no.
Anyway, the plot twist is that Amelia told me a couple of years ago, we were chatting about it. She's like, oh yeah, I know what Food Wars was. I just wanted him to know how weird it was.
What?
So it was all set up.
So how did he feel?
It was a setup. He actually did like reevaluate, like, this actually is pretty weird, hey? And
That's fucked up. That guy's gonna carry that trauma with him for life. I would wake up in a cold sweat thinking about that day. Jesus.
oh my god. Consequences.
I don't think it's like bad either. It's just like not something you show to a group of non-anime watchers.
I mean, I don't know. I have no moral judgment against Amelia for it.
Okay,
I think
okay.
it's quite funny.
I thought you were gonna say against the friend who watches Food Wars.
Well, obviously. I do not think his like soul is contaminated because he watched Food Wars. Gotta learn somehow. It was kind of like.
Did he have to though? Like,
I mean, he was going on about it a lot. I remember that's why the name Food Wars is like burned into my fucking
oh my
brain.
god.
And he was
He was like 16,
no,
right?
he was there when people were telling me to watch Yamada's first time, but he didn't say anything. They were like, yeah, it's really sweet and really romantic. And then the girl's like, I want to fuck 100 dudes. And it's like,
Oh
okay,
my
I'm not
God.
watching this anymore.
Did you
So-
get like punked? I don't understand.
I don't know. I've had bad experiences with anime. I'm traumatized.
Bebop has been a good return to form though, right?
It was
that
good.
anime takes
It was
itself
really
seriously.
good.
Good.
Is aim training bad a thing? I'm feeling quite stuck. Absolutely. I've been doing it for 5 years, and over that 5 years, I have probably said I'm quitting about 12 times, maybe more. Yamada's first time. You know what it is? Oh
I
my
know
god. I didn't finish it, obviously, but not gonna introduce Food Wars to normies. Yeah, I was the normie.
I think JD wants us to watch Attack on Titan as well.
Oh, true. We still gotta get through all of the series Bebop though.
Bebop? Yeah. We're like halfway done.
I see you're on Zero instead of a Raiden. You're using artisan dots for it. I am. What happens in Food Wars? Not for stream.
It's just very suggestive. Even though it's like not actually anything happening, they're just eating the food.
It was the fucking moaning though. It was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. Anyway,
Anyway.
the video.
Tension, right?
This video helped me so much to understand why my flicks are inconsistent. Thank you. OP18K 2v2 is not worth it. Just to be blunt, it is a very slight upgrade. It's like, think of it like a refresh more than a V2. I think if they were to release a proper V2, it would be called, you know, OP2 8K. This is like them fixing some of the minor issues, updating it to the latest tech. They haven't retooled anything or made any significant weight changes. It's a nice refresh. It's appreciated, but I don't think it's game changing.
I think it's really cool for the modders.
Oh, for sure. The PCB changes actually are really nice.
So can you snap off the back? Is that what they were saying?
I think so.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. And it's cool that they're thinking of this stuff when making.
By the way, Levity, I think you should probably do either Colmec DH or Canary for ortho, split ortho. I think it's really nice.
DH is a good idea. I already bought it for a friend. I mean, it's a good mouse. It's better than the V1. It's just not worth like getting if you have a V1.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Thoughts on arm sleeves? I don't use them and I don't really have a need to. My arm doesn't really touch the pad generally, so I have no like friction to worry about.
I was actually shocked how many CS pros are using them now.
Yeah.
I want to know what pads they're using because
QCK GSR generally, I think.
okay.
Faxi
That's
PA.
pretty good.
Yeah.
If anyone's using a Zero, I have to look into it.
You gotta figure out what fucking tech they're doing, right? Like,
yes.
do they just want like the ultimate high friction experience, or like what are they doing? No, I rested on my armrest, no, so it's like slightly above. Kind of excited to learn. It'll be rough at first, but it's so worth it.
You're definitely the type to enjoy it. And I say that with love, of course.
PV Control Sphere, congrats. Alright, it's getting very late, everyone. Thank you all. shimmy video another time, I reckon. It's too late.
We should do some more Q&A streams though.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised people had so many unrelated questions. I thought it'd be mostly about like tension management and stuff.
I'm not that surprised.
Thank you all. I will have this timestamped and up on my second channel within a couple days. I'm not gonna put it on the VODs channel. I feel like this is like a pretty info dense stream that people can actually get something from. Oh, actually, let me do an announcement. Hang on, Viscose VODs.
Oh, true.
For anyone who wants to see Kovacs VODs or stream VODs, here you go. I'll be putting a lot of scores there for my Kovacs benchmarks, and I'll be putting all of my stream uploads, just like raw uploads there.
I'm the first 3 subscribers, by the way.
No VOD for this, there will be.
How are you going to edit this, though? Because we just went off topic 95% of the time.
Good question. I don't know. I'll see what I can cut down. But I will post the raw VOD for this as well.
Okay.
Alright. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.